Welcome back to the program. Well, it's certainly been a roller coaster of a year for the property market. Principal of Michelle May Buyers Agents thinks it's the worst she's seen. She joins me live now. Michelle, why is the situation so volatile?
I think buyers are just really at risk of losing heads at the moment. I'm seeing some really panic buyers at the moment. I'm getting a lot of phone calls from people saying, I'm desperate to get into this market. I don't know what's going on. Things are selling 20 to 30% over the guide, and they are really at risk of not doing their due diligence properly and end up buying a dud for way too much money.
So, Michelle, as you just said there, a lot of homes are selling above their value. Why are we seeing that, and what are the long-term ramifications of it?
Well, obviously, as a buyer, it's never been cheaper to borrow money, on top of which there are a number of incentives that the government have put in place, such as the First Home Buyer Scheme, but also the renovation grant up to 1.5 million. So there's a lot of incentives there for people to get into the market now. The rules for banking have also somewhat made it easier to borrow more. So everyone's taking this opportunity. And of course, with extra competition, that means this competition is actually driving up prices, where you're seeing auctions with more than 20 registered bidders. And that's not uncommon in the inner city, but also in the more regional areas where typically there was a lot less demand than there is now.
So how will this, what will the impact be long term of these places selling at such a high price?
Yeah, the problem is that some properties that are, selling way above expectation, even beyond agents' expectation, and it's purely driven by buyers throwing too much money at properties that are really not worth it. They are setting the new benchmark. So, comparable sales is what this market goes on when it comes to price guides. And so when vendors are seeing these prices, they're going, well, my property is worth at least that and more. But really what we will see is that vendors will have unrealistic expectations about what their own property is worth, and buyers will hold off a little bit more as they're sort of digging their heels in and coming to the realization that these properties really are not worth it.
Are you seeing this across the board or mainly in the cities? I know you mentioned there that in regional places as well. Is it as dire?
In some cases worse, because with COVID, of course, one of the advantages that were there is that people now have the option to work further afield, have less commuting time, if not at all. Working from home part-time or permanently is now a real option for people. And so what were considered regional markets that really didn't have that much growth and were much more dependent on things like Airbnb and holiday makers have now become permanent locations for people. So a lot of city dwellers and Sydney-sided are now moving to those places and thinking, well, I can have so much more for my money. But they're, of course, competing with a lot of other people that are thinking the same.
Michelle, it's pretty confusing to people that aren't involved in real estate. You would think that given the pandemic, prices would be plummeting. What exactly is happening?
Well, actually, a lot of people were saying that, but what we found was that for the quality properties, there's always been demand, even when things were going off market. But, of course, life still goes on, pandemic or not. People get divorced, maybe more so than ever. People still have children. And there's also a lot of people who've done really well out of this pandemic and who have done financially really well. So the property market will keep on moving no matter what is happening around life and in the world. But I think as long as people really reflect on what is it do I want for this property and how long am I going to be living in it, just really think about what you're doing.
Just quickly before we go, do you think it's sustainable, or do you think we'll see a correction in the property market?
I think there will be a correction in the property market. I hope so, actually. I think that, as I said before, more vendors will be coming on the market come March time. That's what I'm hearing on the ground from selling agents anyway, because the vendors are seeing these astounding results and want, a bite of the pie, so to speak. But I think that obviously with more supply will mean that the buyer pool will become less deep, less competition per property, and that means those crazy results will come to an end hopefully soon.
Well, Michelle, thanks so much for your insight this afternoon. It's been great chatting with you.
Pleasure.